Hi, everyone. Welcome to the C-Suite. I'm Lisa Granatstein, Chief Content Officer of Front Office Sports. I'm excited to host this series featuring conversations with the biggest names in the business of sports. Joining us today is Tim Ellis, the Chief Marketing Officer of the NFL. We'll talk to Tim about NFL growth strategies, fandom, and the future of football. Also, feel free to slide questions for Tim into the chat. So let's get right to it. Tim, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate it. Thanks for allowing me to come on.
Well, thank you for being here. So you're coming on 4 years at the NFL.
Yeah.
Talk about your role and how it's evolved since you've gone through so much with COVID and I mean, it's been crazy. So tell me a little bit about what you're doing and how it's changed.
Yeah, well, when I first came, it's almost 4 years now. September will be 4. When I first came on, they were looking for someone to come in and really modernize the marketing, build up a true, strong, what I always call the marketing machine, like a really good first-class marketing program. But really, what they needed and what they were pretty clear about is they needed to future-proof the NFL. They could see that they were not resonating, and they didn't have a strong enough fan base amongst their youngest fans. And so I had the opportunity to come on and really look ahead and start to work toward bringing in that younger generation. I mean, I'd come from Activision. I've been there for 7 years, and I probably spent a fair amount of time taking fans from the NFL to gaming, right? So then I kind of felt like they asked me to bring them back. So it was a great opportunity.
Right. So you're talking about expanding the fan base. You're definitely targeting youth. I understand you're looking at women and Latino fans. How are you trying to get to those audiences?
So, some of it's outright targeting, and you sort of put your finger on there. Those are our three key targets, right? Those are the cohorts that are most important to the NFL: the Latino fan base, the female fan base, and the youth segment. And I will say this: you talked about the complexities and the challenges around the pandemic. When I first came on, I had about a year and a half to sort of put everything in place and to go after those three groups. And we had a 7-year decline in our youth segment that we reversed and put that into growth mode. We had the highest composition of female fans in the history of the NFL. And then we also brought in more Latino fans than ever before. So we were going in a really good direction there. The pandemic hit. Everybody, as we all know, was distracted. Even our own fan base, even though we had very good attendance and tune in, or not attendance to the games, of course, but tune in to our games and to our owned and operated. Still, people were obviously distracted. But I say all that because it proved to us during that time that we could do it, right? And I think there's some things you need to do. Some of them have to do with messaging and being more open, being more having more inclusion in everything that you do, having more diversity in everything that you do, being willing to talk about more complex, sensitive subjects, taking a clear stance on these subjects, because young people care about this. Our female fans very much care about this. Incorporating Latino culture in everything that we do, not just going to a specific channel, with your messaging or with your content, but actually incorporating what at the heart of Latino culture into your mainstream activities as well, right? So I don't separate the two. Mm-hmm. Yes, of course, we have specific things that we do toward that audience on certain channels, but I want Latino culture in everything that we do.
Right. And when you talk about taking a stance on things and being part of the conversation, just because that is sort of the nature of the beast these days, that's youth culture. How do you help determine that NFL conversation internally and externally? Like, how do you take a stance on certain things or not?
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm lucky. I sit at the sort of the highest board, if you will, of the NFL. So I report directly to Commissioner Goodell, and along with my peers, we have, we meet a couple times at least a week, and we talk about all these issues. So we talk about the business and planning like every company does, but we also talk about a lot of these important issues. And obviously they're complex, and we've made decisions over the last few years that there are some things that we're going to talk about and take clear stances on that we didn't before. and having the privilege to influence that group to talk about these things and to really move forward on these things has been one of the best things, that I've certainly been rewarded with since coming here. And I think that, obviously there are some things that have happened that we've all experienced in this country over the last several years. I think everyone has been reflecting on decisions to make and then decisions that have formally been made. And I think being willing to sort of look in the mirror and say, okay, well, yes, we've either taken stances or not taken stances on some pretty important issues like social justice. We need to talk about that. We need to talk about things that we maybe could have done and should have done differently. Let's be open about that. If we made mistakes, let's just say it. And then let's move ahead. Let's move forward. I know that's a lot, but that's what I'm looking forward to.
All right. Excellent. We are out of time. Tim, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to see you and engage. And I'm hoping you'll come back to FOS.
Love it.
Have a great season.